Hi, I'm John Waterhouse. Welcome to the original Science of Mind as taught by Reverend Dr. Barbara Waterhouse. I'm sure you're going to have a wonderful time in class tonight. Barbara has some great things to share, and she's at her best. So enjoy the class, and I will see you at the end.
So take a deep breath. We always begin everything with spiritual mind treatment. And the work is done in mind. And so we know that there is only one, whatever we call it, is just a word. There is an infinite, absolute presence of life and love, of light. This one presence is all that there is. In that, everything is created out of it. It has become that which it created. It encompasses universe layers and life and so much more. It goes beyond the realm of word. And since there is only one, then we know that each one of us is created out of that oneness. We are manifested out of spirit itself. We are individualizations of the divine presence. It lives and moves and has its being by means of us. And so we open to that idea that there is that within us that is greater than we can even imagine. Just breathe that in for a moment. We have a body, but we're not our body. We have emotions, but we're not our emotions. We have thoughts, but we're not our thoughts. We have things, but we are not our things. We are so much more. We are one with all that is. And like the wave has the same qualities as the ocean, then whatever God is, we are. So right here and right now, we claim and affirm that eternal truth, that we are healthy, we are wealthy, we are wise, we are loved and loving, we are successful, we are creative. That is the truth of us and cannot be tarnished or taken away. And so we move into that awareness that says our lives are blessed. We always have more than enough. We always know what to do and when to do it. We are divinely guided and directed. We are infinitely creative, and our lives reflect that which we direct them to reflect. Wow, the power is in our hands. And that takes me to a state of thanksgiving. I am so grateful to be a powerful, creative, spiritual being alive and well on planet Earth. I am so grateful to be an individualization of the divine, a being of light and love. And in that sense of gratitude, we just turn this loose because we know we have set spiritual law in motion. And the only thing that life can do is take what is directed, create it, and collapse it into form as our lives. And together we say,
and so it is.
So, we have lessons in this textbook. And the very first lesson talked about the absolute, the infinite, whatever spirit is, and how the manifestation process works on a universal level. It used really big words. It was omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. It is eternal. It is absolute. It is infinite. Really big words to talk about a really big concept. And then, as of last week, we moved into the second lesson, which is all about us. And what it says is that the infinite is the macro, the big, the macrocosm. And because we are created out of that creative essence of spirit, we are what? The microcosm. But the same way that whatever is in the ocean is in the drop, and that Rumi would say the ocean itself is in the drop is not in the ocean, and quantum physics would support that concept, but I don't want to go off on a tangent right away. Then whatever is true of spirit is true of us. And so that same creative process reenacts itself by means of us. But instead of creating universes, we're creating our lives. We're creating the people in our lives, the circumstances in our lives, the situations in our lives. And this reading talks all about the subjective race consciousness. It infers as to belief systems and hidden beliefs and all of that good stuff when we look at our lives and go, WTF, why is this happening to me again? Why is this happening over and over and over again? Well, because there is something inside of us that even if we don't know it consciously, is setting spiritual law in motion and creating circumstances in our lives. Have you ever been in more than one relationship?
That was my question, yeah.
No, but that's an interesting aspect of it. Did you notice that often those additional relationships started to feel just like the one before it? And if I had you in therapy, we'd go back to probably it was your father or your mother or something like that you were acting out that same relationship over and over again. If you had a wounded inner child, then you would be unloved or unappreciated, or you would have that same feeling of not getting your needs met that you had as a child. And we recreate those circumstances because they are in our subjective mind, not unconscious. Our subjective mind, they are planted like seeds in the earth, and sure enough, they will spring forth to where we have, divorce number 1, divorce number 2, divorce number 3, divorce number 4, all of that stuff, always saying, I've been here before, I've done this before, I've had this same job, but it was at a different company with different people. I've had this same financial experience. That's why when people win the lottery, they end up going back to their mental norm, their mental equivalent of prosperity, even though they had a big peak. Unless they change, they won't keep it. So what is in this lesson is alluded to hidden beliefs and race consciousness and a lot of stuff that may be going on inside of us that we don't really know about, but we can find out about by looking at the circumstances in our lives. If we have reoccurring experiences, it's because we have that inside of us. Now, it can be a reoccurring experience that's really great. It can be that lemons always turn to lemonade for me. I'm really lucky. Everything always works out for me. And that can be something that comes from a belief system inside of us that acts out over and over and over again. And then next week, if we get to it, and this lesson was really big, right? There was a lot of stuff in this lesson. So next week, we're going to jump into the chapter on healing. And what I love about the way that Ernest originally laid out Science of Mind and Spirit is that it's a logical argument. And it takes us all the way to a complete understanding. So we start off with this idea of what is spirit, what is the divine. If you want to use the 3-letter word, what is God, what is that? And then if that is so, that must be what I am. It must be what I am. Remember, in order for an infinite to exist, it must exist in its totality at every point simultaneously. That's a big idea. That means that the entire presence of the divine exists at the point of view every second, all of it, not just a little bit. You're not a part of God. You're not, well, I'm just mere human. No, you are God itself. You are the creation of the universe. You are that which created all of this. And so if that is so, then I must be doing that in my life too. The very presence that I'm alive, that we are here, states that we are manifesting our lives. So since we're manifesting our lives, let's check it out. Let's check out what it is we're doing. If we like it, great. Let's keep on. If we're ready to change some things, then we can work on the outside all we want. And if we don't change the inside, we're going to simply recreate what is on the outside. Have you ever done a geographical cure?
Oh, God.
I did.
Oh,
I
yeah.
moved 3,000 miles. Took my 3-year-old son, moved 3,000 miles. Inside of 2 weeks, I had lost every penny I had, been in a major car accident where one of my friends died, the other one was in the hospital, and as soon as she got out, she flew back to Florida and left me all alone, penniless, jobless, carless. Wow, I've felt this way before. It took me 2 weeks. Barbara's powerful. 2 weeks to go from a geographical cure to having everything be exactly the same that it was before, only now I'm in a place that I don't know anybody. So when we try to change on the outside circumstances, conditions in our life, and don't change on the inside, then we just recreate over and over and over again the circumstances on the outside. That's why getting yet another job isn't going to help. That's why leaving that dirty, rotten racket Pratchett isn't going to help. That what happens is we have to get the shift to go within. We have to effect a change on the inside so that then the outside comes into alignment with that and our life manifests. One of the phrases that was in the reading from last week that I love so much, and it's kind of our motto in Science of Mind, is to learn how to think is to learn how to live. It's not about working your fingers to the bone. It's not about trying to figure out how to work a deal with life. It's not about trying to con people or get ahead. It's to learn how to think is to learn how to live. And when you master your inner state, you will find that the circumstances outside of you shift. And the only place to work is within. Because what happens if you work on the outside and you don't realize that you're the one steering the ship? What happens? You recreate it over and over and over again. And I know for me, when I've done that, I've always been innocent. I didn't do that. That's the way life is. That's the way those people are. They did it to me. And so, by not being willing to accept responsibility for my circumstances, I've locked myself into an endless creation and experience of those kinds of situations in my life, over and over and over and over and over again. So I love this chapter. How many people were here last week? Wasn't that great? Wasn't that a great class? I love this class. I love this chapter because it talks all about us. And as usual, we're going to start with our teaching symbol. And you notice that the teaching symbols in the book are not the same. They're different. Now we've got teaching symbol Roman numeral 2A and teaching symbol Roman numeral 2B. I like the 2B one. I like the metaphysical chart number 2B because it talks about all of the things that happen to us personally, and truly all of this wonderful, infinite, absolute spirit stuff is great, but I want to know how to make my life work. I want to know what am I doing to continue to create the circumstances in my life, and what can I do to shift them. So, here we have this lovely oval that depicts 3 aspects of spirit. It is not 3 different parts of spirit, it's just a way to wrap our head around it. And what we're looking at tonight is the individual view of it. So what do I have up here?
Spirit.
But what about with me? What would I have?
Consciousness.
Consciousness. What else?
Personality.
C-O-N-S-C-I-O-U-S-N-E-S-S. Big words. Personality.
Spirit.
Beliefs, thoughts. Beliefs.
Choice.
There you go. Choice. Okay, well, look at that. We've got this idea of thoughts. We have this idea of beliefs. We have this idea of choice. Starts at the top of the circle. And the circle goes this way. That's why we're using it as a teaching symbol, just to give us a flow of creation. It could just as easily go from the bottom up, the inside out, the outside in, although I think I like the inside out better. But it's just a way to wrap our heads around this, that there is something that starts the flow in our lives. And this idea of choice and will is really important, because that is the only spot in the whole creative process where we can change what's happening. Once we set it in motion and the law takes it, it's going to show up. Unless we change it, we will have it. So if we're creating something that we really want, if we're open and loving and joy-filled and feeling prosperous and abundant and healed, whole and healthy, and we are just having this great experience, if you don't screw that up, it will manifest in your life. It will. Unless you go out in traffic and get mad, or get something from the bank and go into fear, or watch the news, or whatever it is people do to mess up that wonderful flow that they have. I mean, you come here, you go through like a whole Sunday celebration, and you get all just opened and full and loving, and I don't know what happens to people. I go home and watch football, and sometimes that gets me. But not yesterday, we had the Dolphins, the Broncos, and the Panthers winning, but that's living in a competitive universe. I don't know about the Packers. Good. Good, 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 good. So when I allow my preferences to get involved, then I start to lose all of that. There's only love and the treatment and the singing and the talk and all the people, and I leave here just so clear that I am an infinite God being, and all is well in planet Earth. Everything in my life is a blessing. The entire universe supports me, and all is well. And what I want to do is I want to hold on to that as long as possible, because that will manifest in my life. I want that to be the thoughts and the beliefs that I plant in the fertile soil of mind, so that life will take it and manifest it. And it doesn't matter how far-fetched it seems. It doesn't matter how many people think it's impossible. That will grow and manifest. It doesn't even matter if it's never happened before. You know, if we were stuck with only having things happen that have happened before, there would be no growth. There would be no evolution. There would be no change in life. We have to have the impossible possible in order for us to grow, in order for the universe to expand, in order for the species to evolve, in order for our lives to get better. We have to be able to have the impossible possible. So that's a given. The impossible is possible. If someone says, well, that's impossible, well, the impossible is possible. Huh? Yes. The impossible must be possible for us even to be here. I just thought that was brilliant. I just thought of that yesterday.
Does that mean that generally you feel as if, you can feel as if your life is a blessing until you pick a side or make a choice?
Sure, until you choose to feel like it's not a blessing. Ah, that's a wise noise. Oh, yeah. I mean, look at all your investment that you get, whether it's been therapy or meditation or body work or listening to CDs or coming here. You've invested all of this energy into yourself, and you've got a hold of something, and you're on top of the world. And then we give it up so quickly. And what I want you to know is that your job is to hold on to that feeling. Hold on to that feeling. Hold on to that thought. Hold on to that idea, because what you're doing is you're planting your crop, and you will have a harvest if you hold on to it. The same is true for the exact opposite. Somebody has a belief that there's not enough. there's not enough time, there's not enough money, there's not enough opportunity, there's not enough. And then something wonderful happens. And they have this belief that says, no, there's not enough. I know it looks like there's enough right now, you know, but what is that Murphy's Law, that awful thing? If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. They have that belief that that's going to happen. And so no matter how great it is, people can come here. People can come here and absolutely get angry. It's fascinating to me. Fascinating. And a lot of times they'll target me or John, because people have to have kind of a place to point their anger. And they're angry that we would dangle the carrot of happiness when it is so impossible.
What do you mean it's the best day ever?
I know, what do you mean it's the best day ever? So they come into the same environment that someone else comes in, like you, and instead of being filled full to overflowing, uplifted, joyous, creative, they have a belief. They have a belief down that says, it's going to be a bad day. It's going to be a bad day. Something's going to happen. Something's going to fall apart. And even if they don't know that they believe that, it will fight with the happy day, the best day ever, that anything is possible, you're made out of love, love is what you are. Fight with that. And if you don't hold the thought up that says, no, my life is going to get better and I'm not giving into those old beliefs. If you don't do that, if you just think, well, I had one affirmation and that should hold me for the rest of my life, or I read one book or went to one class or whatever, and then you don't pay attention, those old beliefs will come and they will take away the new idea. One of the ways that it works chemically or physiologically is that idea that inside of your brain, the phrase is from Candace Pert, what fires together, wires together. So that the tendrils in your neurotransmitters, when you're thinking, they will actually grow together. The cells in your brain will actually attach to each other. And so it's easier then to think a thought over and 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 over, and then you just don't even know that you're thinking about it, and you subjectify that thought, you push it down to where it's a hidden belief now, you don't even know that you believe it, but you keep thinking it over and over and over again, and then someone says, no, you don't have to live that life. You can have life be the way that you want it. You can be happy. You can have a healing. You can have a demonstration. Your dreams can come true. Except you've got these brain cells wired together, glued, grown together. And so there has to be a point of effort on your part, a point of choice, where you begin to insist on thinking a different thought. And as you think a different thought, you get your little neurotransmitters flowing in the, whatever it's called, the spinal fluid that your brain floats around in, and they'll find something else to grow to. And then it's easy to go to the positive. You can tell people who have spent a lot of time training themselves to go to the positive. And you can tell people who go to the negative. If someone goes boo, and one person goes, oh, it's all lost, and another goes, wow, what? That's the difference. It happens before you know that you've thought a thought. So up here is really important because you've got your choice and you've got your will. What is will?
Your action.
What comes before your actions?
Intention, thought.
Intention, it's before thought.
Inspiration.
It's before, inspiration is an uplifting. What is your will? Anybody
Your
ever?
life, your desire.
It manifests through your desires. Anybody ever started an exercise program?
Mm-hmm.
Let me rephrase that. Has anyone ever followed through an exercise program? The follow through comes from your will. It's not willpower. Is it hot in here?
Yeah.
Life in their brow.
I'm totally comfortable.
Well, that's what he does, takes you from cold to hot. So your will is what carries you through. It's like when you decide to get up and meditate in the morning, and you wake up and you go, oh, man, what was I thinking? Really? I have to get up half an hour early, an hour early to do this stuff? What gets you out of bed before you realize how valuable it is this idea of will. It's very connected with choice, and it allows you to make change in your life. So one of the things that happens with people in this center or this teaching is that there's a belief that all they have to do is think one thought and everything else will change. Now, I gotta tell you that that is possible. If you can think that one thought so clearly that no other thought ever enters your awareness, then that will manifest. But most of us have millions of thoughts flying around our brain, and synaptic transmissions firing, and hidden beliefs, and all of this stuff that we're not even aware of. And so when we decide to change our mind, when we decide to change our thoughts, sometimes that choice has to be backed up by will, by intention, by commitment, by follow through. And that's not the pretty part. That's not the sexy part of science of mind. Sexy part of science of mind is money falling out of the sky, that when the diagnosis goes away, the x-rays change, they say it's a miracle that you healed this fast, Bob Horn, with your foot, you should still have 3 more weeks of healing and you're all healed. That's great, I love that stuff. But that stuff doesn't just happen without some kind of a change occurring. Whatever it is that we put down in here, in law, in the subconscious, subjective, subject to. Subjective is subject to anything you give it. Whatever it is you put down there, you will end up having in here, in body. In the body of your affairs, the body of your finances, the body of your relationships, the body of your experiences, you will have that. And so an easy thing to do is to look down in the conditions of your life, the effects of your life, and go, what have I got? Do I have more than enough money than I need, than I want? Do I have an abundance to spare and to share? What have I got? Do I have a body that supports me and I feel great in and I get to do what I want to do? What kind of relationships do I have? Do I have relationships with people that love me and support me? When I choose to go on a path, do the doors open and the carpets rolled out? Do I have that? Because if I don't, then the place to start is up here, up here. When people come to me and they go, oh, I'm in this relationship and they don't respect me, I'm obnoxious to come counsel them. I say, when you respect yourself, other people will respect you. Well, my boss doesn't value me. Well, when you value yourself, you will be valued. So it all starts on the inside. It all starts, for this discussion, it all starts with thought. Now, I know there's something before the thought, but I don't know how to talk about that. I know that there is something that happens because we are not physical beings, and the thought really is kind of a physical process. I'm talking about neurotransmitters and flashes and all of that stuff. There is something that happens, but I don't know how to talk about that. So we'll talk about it starts at a thought. It starts at a thought, starts at a feeling, starts at a choice, starts at a decision. It starts with something happening in our lives. And then we have an opportunity to decide if we want that or not. Well, I'm just going to be 15 minutes late because they don't value me. Well, boy, you start down that slippery slope. Well, I'm just going to take this because I don't have enough in my life. We're just going to start creating all kinds of havoc in my life. I'm just going to be snooty to my partner because they were snooty to me 3 weeks ago. If we do that, and we don't have the wherewithal to say, wait a minute, I'm a powerful, creative, spiritual being, I'm gonna manifest this multiplied abundantly, but I have choice. I have free will. I have awareness of who I am and what I am. I have the ability to think about what I'm thinking about and choose whether or not I'm gonna let it come out of my mouth. I am in charge. If we do that, then we can shift what may be taking us down the slope. Or, if we like where we're going, we can support ourselves in that. Yes, I wanted to get up at 6 o'clock. I'm going to start meditating. I'm going to do my chief spiritual officer gratitude letter. I'm going to do this spiritual mind treatment stuff. I'm going to do my reading for class. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get up at 6, and I don't care if I'm tired and sleepy and cold and whatever. I'm going to get out of bed anyway. I'm going to support myself. I'm going to have my own back in creating the life that I want, because honest to God, if you don't create it on the inside, you will spend countless hours trying to fix it on the outside, and it will never work. So what do you want to do? You want to get up an hour early, or you want to get a second job? Get up an hour early. Clean it up inside of yourself, and then watch everything unfold. So the same way that whatever spirit is creates universe layers and all of life and time and space, we create that in our own lives, in our own world. Every person in our life, every dollar, everything that we do, everything that we feel is our creation. And we are at choice. And for me, that is the biggest thing in this teaching, because we are at choice. Once we learn that we can have a physical body that is completely healed of anything that anybody thinks is not healthy. Once we learn that we can have more money than we know what to do with, once we learn that we can be living in love and joy and bliss, once we learn that our dreams can come true, then everything else is a matter of choice. What are we willing to do? We're not just going to sit back and say, well, I'm going to stay the way that I've always been and expect to have my life different. It's not going to happen. So once we've learned that, the next big thing that we get from this teaching is that it's up to you. It's up to me. It's up to all of us. And nobody can do it for us. Nobody can give it to us. But nobody can take it away from us. That's the great thing. Yes, nobody can do it for us, but I can. You can. Nobody can give it to me, but nobody can take it away from me. I can do it. I can have my life the way that I want it. If it's not showing up on the outside the way I want it, it's up to me to go, oh, whoa, look at that hidden belief made manifest. Because I didn't know I was thinking that. I didn't know I was believing that. But if that's going on the outside, it's got to be going on the inside, so I can turn within and I can shift that energy and shift that focus. And if that means I go back to looking for an affirmation. I am blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. Only good comes to me. Only good comes to me and I am blessed. Only good comes to me and I am blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. All that I see, all that I experience is spirit and form. My heart is open. If I do those kinds of things all day long to get myself back on track, and you know how it feels. It feels really good. It feels really good. I have to confess, I was really tired after our garage sale. My sister reminded me that often I have said, I will never have a garage sale, and I never did until a couple of days ago.
And John isn't going to have one either.
Not anymore, thank God. But I was really tired, and then I had a wedding. Katie and Ben got married downtown Asheville Saturday afternoon in the really cold air, and I got back and I was indulging in some stinking thinking, like, oh, poor me. I had to do a garage sale, and then I'm out in the cold, and it's cold, and I'm tired, and and I thought, Barbara, you are way too powerful to indulge in this for more than a couple of minutes. So I sat down, I just started doing some breathing, and realizing how fantastic my life is, which it is, and it just takes that long. Did you feel that shift? And my life is fantastic. I have got the best life in the world. John has come home. How long have I been complaining about that? 5 years. Oh, he's gone for 2 months. I don't even know what he looks like anymore. All of that stuff. Well, he's here. I have the best job in the world. I have the best career in the world because it helps me. I'm so delighted you guys come along. Or really, this is about me keeping my head screwed on straight. I have plenty of money. I even have a wonderful dog. You know, I've got my son. I went to see my grandson go in his Boy Scout thing. I'm not sure exactly what happened. He was a Boy Scout for a year, and now he's a scout. So there's evidently the little steps that they go up. I've got that. My sister's in town. You know, she lives here, and all of that's great. I have a fantastic life. I'm 62 years old. I look great. I feel fantastic. You know, I'm wonderful. And all I had to do was go back to that to realize that that's what I want to live, because I am powerful enough, as are you, to create the outpicturing of that which we are complaining about. You know, so back to no complaining, back to I love you, I bless you, I forgive you, I release you, all of whatever it is I fabricated in my life to think anything's happening to me. When we are aware, when we are conscious of what we're doing, then we can take our choice and hopefully soup it up a little bit with some will and some decision and some energy to carry us through until we change just like that, until the alarm goes off and we jump out of bed, because we can't wait to have the day that half an hour or hour of spiritual practice is going to create for us. We can't wait to see what exciting blessings are happening, and who would want to just stay asleep when we can create our dreams coming true. So the important thing in that is this idea of choice and will. That you can have thoughts and beliefs that are happy, you can have them that are not so happy, but it's up to you how you bring them forth, how you actualize that potential in your life so that it's in your checkbook, it's in your body, it's in your relationships, it's in your house, it's in your job, and it's staring you in the face. Anything staring you in the face, you put there. And you put it there not on the outside, you put it there on the inside in your thoughts. Does everybody have that? That's one level. And then we have this thing called race consciousness.
He's referring to it as race suggestion. Same thing?
Race consciousness or race suggestion. So when we have the energy, the thought forms, the mental atmosphere of everyone on the planet, since when we go outside of the realm of physical form, we have left the realm of time. It would be not only everyone on the planet, everyone who's ever been on the planet, everyone who is ever going to be on the planet, and whatever other life forms are on the planet, past, present, and future, that we don't see. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on a positive level, and there's a lot going on a negative level, and it behooves us to pay attention to that. One of the things that I love about what Ernest says is that the race, and I include past, present, future, and any other beings that are hanging out with us, the race must be more positive than negative, or we would have all died before now. If the balance of consciousness was more negative, we would have all died off. But the very fact that we are still here and still evolving shows that there is more positivity than negativity, which is good to know. Because a lot of speakers, they'll just talk about the limbic brain and the fight or flight and the cave person and the saber-toothed tiger, and how they always lived in fear, and so we get triggered off in that, and it's very instinctual and very reactive. But really, for us to be here, let's have a little bit of a different story. Maybe the cave people were having a good time. You know, they say that the most prosperous societies on the planet that have ever been were hunter-gatherers. So rather than seeing them as always fighting a saber-toothed tiger, maybe once in a lifetime. Maybe that was the end of the lifetime. Maybe just once in a village they had a saber-toothed tiger or something like that. And that hunting-gathering tribes, you gather, you hunt, you have a lot of meat for a long time, and so you dry it, or you cook it, or you freeze it, and you gather, and you really have a lot of time between those experiences. So that those are the cultures that have the most time with their children, the most time telling stories, and hanging out. So maybe the sum total of all the consciousness up until now is not this bad thing that we have to worry about and fight. Maybe it is that which also uplifts us and that reminds us that everything's going to work out. It's worked out for billions of years. It's going to work out. It's going to be okay. So we have access to those different ideas and vibrations on a subjective, some would say unconscious. Ernest is very clear, the subjective mind is not unconscious. No matter how deep into it you go, there is still a level of consciousness. There was a movie that had that woman that plays in one of the NCIS things, the short one. She played a man in the Killing Fields and was just amazing. And she was in another movie as a nun, talking about levels of consciousness, just as an aside in this movie. And it was like, oh, it's one of the most amazing things I've ever heard, to where even death is only another level of consciousness. And that it is not unconscious. None of it is unconscious. So that even when you lay the body down and you go into that level of consciousness called death, which we know that you're releasing the body and moving on, then these are all levels of consciousness. So Ernest was very clear that the subjective is not unconscious. And we have these inputs from the aspect of us that is not physical. So you know that your body is just this little tiny part of you, right? I used to think, yay, stick figures. Some people think that your spirit is in your heart. I guess your heart's down here. I have to check, where is it? Or some people think it's here, or when I was doing my ashram stuff, it was 18 inches above your head.
Some people
No.
believe it's the
Your
solar plexus.
Your spirit is like this, and you have the little teeny tiny that. And then remember, this is the circle without any circumference. Rid of this. So really, your energy is huge, and you're dragging along this little body so you can stay focused in time and space. That's all that's going on. I often feel like I'm being dragged by a bigger part of me through my life. Like, hurry up, come on, we got things to do, places to go, people to see, we got experiences to have. So, when you have this input from the part of you that is non-physical, as Abraham would say, the not physical part of you, you can tune into energies of this is never going to happen, you're stuck, it's all going to go down the tubes, or you can tune into energies that uplift you. Everything always works out, everything's fine. The worst thing that can happen is you die, and that's going to be great. That's going to be great. Anybody who's had a near-death experience comes back and says, that was great. Pardon me?
Why am I back?
Exactly. A lot of people say, why am I back? So when you tune into these other energies, they can either lift you up or they can drag you down. And some people think, well, no, that's just the way life is. And I say, no, it's not. That is your choice on what to tune into and what to think about. And granted, people may have been raised in an environment where it was spoon-fed to them that money doesn't grow on trees, that you've got this genetic predisposition, and girls can only do this, and boys can only do this, and because of our blah, 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 this is all you're gonna get. You could have been raised with that, but you're the one that took it. You're the one that kept it. Or, even if you weren't raised with wonderful, joy-filled love, you can still tune into that. That's the cool thing about meditation, is you meditate and you tune into all of this love. I mean, a lot of people meditate and the love comes right out of their eyes and rolls down their face. So it is our choice as to what we're going to embrace, what we're going to tune into, how we are going to allow ourselves to plant our field in the fertile soil of mind so that we can harvest it as our experience. And if we don't like that, we can change it. One of the things I love about this, and I did a lot of Eastern stuff before I found Science of Mind, and I was 24 when I found Science of Mind. Not that it was lost.
You were lost.
At that time I was. But one of the things I love about this is the idea of karma. Says for a lot of people that if you do something, you're going to have to experience the effect of that cause. You're going to have to experience the karmic debt of that. And in Hindu traditions, it gets carried over into lifetimes, and you have a bad status in this lifetime because of something karmically you did in a previous lifetime, and you just need to deal with it because you're paying your dues. And I love what Ernest says. He says, karma is always in the eternal now. And so if you set something in motion, even if you've started to act it out and live it, you can always change it just like that. No matter what you have ever done, you can change it just like that. Wipe the slate clear. You do not have to pay any debt to anything or anyone if you change your cause. That's why forgiveness is so good. That's why doing your forgiveness work at night before you go to bed, give yourself a clean slate. Or, well, I really did that number on that person, and you know, this is my pound of flesh that I have to pay, or I can see a direct correlation between I took that from that person and now this is being taken from me. Well, you know, you can use this teaching to justify all of that suffering if you want, or you can change it just like that. When you set a new cause in motion, the only thing that can happen is that you have a new effect. So even if you did eat that gallon of ice cream, and you're going, oh no, I ate a gallon of ice cream, I feel terrible. No, that's all in your head. Change it just like that. My body was born to digest ice cream. My body was born to metabolize white sugar and white flour and chemicals and preservatives. My body was created to do that, and I do it well, and I feel fantastic. Or you can feel terrible. It's totally up to you. And that's true for relationships. It's true for money. You know, if you had this belief system that said, well, I only had a certain amount of money and I spent it, so now I don't have any more, well, you can live that out, or you can shift your belief back into the idea that says, I live in an infinite universe. I'm created out of the abundance of God itself. Life is always pouring into me. Love is always pouring into me. Money is always pouring into me. Coming in infinite and varied ways and ever-increasing amounts. All of that stuff, and watch how things show up. How many people were in the prosperity class? Wasn't that fun? Letting money show up in your life? And then sometimes, class is over, so okay, now the money doesn't show up anymore. Well, that's all in our head. And if we have a belief that says there's limitation of any kind, we've made that up and we will act it out, and then we will look at it and go, oh, I knew that was true. I knew if I had a certain amount of money and I spent it, there wouldn't be any left. I mean, it sounds logical, doesn't it? But it doesn't have any spiritual basis to it. We live in an infinite, expanding universe. We are created out of that. And that is always moving through us the same way that life moves through us. that anything that we need shows up because it's coming from us out into our experience through this creative process. Jane?
Would you say that consciousness therefore is the same thing as awareness? Is there any difference between?
Yes, in that consciousness also includes this subjective mind, or this race suggestion, and awareness is more a conscious thought. You know, pay attention, be aware, what are you doing, what's going on?
Aware of the external world you're talking
Now,
about?
I prefer you become more aware of your internal world. What you're thinking, what you're feeling, why are you thinking that? What is that belief about? Is it real? Is it a real belief? Question yourself. Where did that thought come from? Where did that feeling come from? Have you ever been around someone and maybe your boundaries weren't that good and they were having a bad day and you felt bad?
Yes.
It's not your feeling. Give it back to them. It's not yours, but you don't know that it's not yours unless you question it. Gee, I came in feeling great. Now I feel crummy. What's going on? And there's this whole social moray that says if someone's sad around you, we're supposed to feel sad. Ernest calls that malpractice. If someone feels sad around me, I'm going to be happy. If they don't like it, I don't care. Because giving up my happiness for their sadness doesn't help them. And it certainly doesn't help me. All it does is take us all down. So be aware of what's going on inside of you, but your consciousness is so much bigger. You know, maybe you were in the womb and you picked up a belief. That doesn't have anything to do with your conscious awareness. You didn't even have language then. Maybe you were a baby and you picked up a belief. Who knows where you got these things, but you don't have to keep them because you have free choice. You have the ability to decide what it is you want to hold on to, and what it is you want to let go of, and what it is you want to go get. That's why coming to a place that lifts you up and inspires you is so important. Read stories about people that inspire you. I love all those chicken soup books. I mean, people say they're corny. I don't care. I cry. I feel better. I think that anything is possible because these people had miracles. I can have miracles too. If you need to go get something, go get it. Go find it. Go make it up. Journal it out. Make it up. Figure it out how you can believe that and then take it and hold on to it and have your back during that process. When the resistance shows up, when the race suggestion shows up, well, you're just too big for your britches. Who do you think you are? Still, people come in here and they want to know if the pastor's in. Because I'm a woman. Couldn't possibly be in charge here. There must be a man here somewhere. Still, that happens. Construction experiences are amazing if you are of the feminine gender. It's just amazing. So there's a race belief that says women can't do that. Women can't be in charge. Women can't be president. All of that. Go, Michaela. And what is it that you may have been spoon-fed as a baby? That you can and cannot do, that you should and should not do. And does that serve you? I mean, maybe you had this great experience that said you can do anything. You can be anything. I used to whisper in my sleeping child's ear that he could do anything. That his life was fantastic. That all of his dreams come true. So what is it that you've come with? What is it that you've picked up just from the general life around us? And what is it that you want? And sometimes what you want, you have to go find. You have to go find it. You have to bring it in. You have to embrace it. You have to plant it. You have to nurture it. You have to bring it forth. I think that's why sometimes, I'm not saying it's true for everybody, but sometimes people will leave the center and then they'll come back a few years later and say, my life was going so great when I was here. And then I left and now it's a mess. So I want to come back and have it go great again. I think it's just because we hold your feet to the fire and say, pay attention, do your work. Don't be lazy. This is not a teaching for lazy people. This takes a lot of effort. But what you get for your effort is a great life. And if you don't have a great life, I have found people spend a lot of effort dealing with all of their problems and all of their lack and limitation and fear. It's going to take the effort, whatever you do, so you might as well be aware, be conscious, be captain of your ship, decide how you're going to do it, set your course, do whatever you need to do to hang on to that, and then watch it show up. Watch it show up in form. What is it that you want? You want to wake up in the morning dancing? Great. Great. Just because people say you've hit a certain age does not mean that you have to do that. Just because people say they saw something in your body doesn't mean it has to stay there 1 second longer. Just because your bank statement says you have a certain amount of money doesn't mean that that's going to stay that way. Everything down here changes. And that's the great thing, that we're always dealing with these time and space situations that are changing and changing and changing. And if we decide how we want them to change or what we want them to change into, that will happen. As long as we can hold that energy steady and hold it long enough for it to show up in time and space. And so people say, oh, well, that's just too long. No, it's not. You planning on dying tomorrow? What else are you going to do for the next month? Do you want it all to work out in a month? Then put the time and energy into it. Because once you get good at this, it happens faster and faster and faster and faster and faster to where you can just know and it shows up. Know and show. If you know, it will show.
It's better than no show.
Really? Thank you, Susan. Any questions before we take a break? Yes.
Because you talked specifically about it in the body, and I have a friend who's had a diagnosis. And I've been pondering this whole thing about treatments, whether they're allopathic or natural treatments, then causing a focus on the thing.
Oh,
And in
yes.
some cases, it's an identity, I am a this or I have a this.
Right.
And yet, then the other part of me still struggles with, then what do? They don't even pay attention to any other,
Turn entirely away from the condition.
and don't go to the doctor. I'm getting it right down to like daily life stuff.
I do not go to a doctor. I have a concern with going to a trained professional and saying, please find something wrong with me. Find something wrong with me. That's my personal ethic. There are a lot of people who go to doctors, and probably if there was some blood involved or a broken bone or some kind of pain, I would go to a doctor. But I think that is me channeling my Christian Science grandmother, and it is not a tenet of this philosophy. This philosophy says you can go to a doctor and have it proven. You know, don't be afraid of the x-ray. The x-ray will show that nothing's there, that there's only perfect health. But if I'm going to get all caught up in fear, oh my God, I'm going to the doctor and they're going to do this test and I'm so afraid that I'm going to have this show up, then I would prefer not to go to the doctor and work on my head. That's all. That's just Barbara personally. I'm not telling you not to go to a doctor. Being clear allows you to go to a doctor and say, please, is there anything wrong? And you know there's nothing wrong with you. And so they say, no, you are the picture of health. You are amazingly healthy. You know, your, what's it called, your physical age is like 25 years younger than your chronological age. I've never seen anyone as healthy as you. So that's just my experience. Who had their hand up? Susan.
I think I may have been reading ahead because the online reading is different. And there was a whole piece about healing, maybe that was.
Yeah, healing is for next week.
Well, I just finished reading it.
Yes.
And he said if you need to take a pill, take a pill.
If you
But
need to take a pill, take a pill.
focus
Yes.
on the condition.
Right.
Saying it over and over.
Right, right. And she was asking about someone else, a fictitious friend, who has some kind of diagnosis. and their fear and identity with that diagnosis, then her question was, what do you do? Just not talk about it, not think about it? And my answer was yes. Yes, that's exactly what you do. And what I would recommend is, and you get a practitioner who is crystal clear as to your absolute health. And you don't have to do it all yourself. You don't have to completely embrace totally your physical healing when you feel like you're not healthy. Get somebody else to put their mojo in there. It all goes down in here so that your consciousness and my consciousness are intermingled, and you can know for me what I can't quite embrace yet for myself. That's why we have practitioners, and that manifests in my life, in my world. So what I would do is I would stop with the I am, because the only thing that should follow I am is spirit or God or divine or perfect or whole or complete or happy or healthy, and get someone else in to carry that consciousness piece while I work on myself. Maybe it could be easy. Maybe there is the possibility that this could heal. Maybe everything really would work out all right while someone else is holding that state of absolute vibrant health. That's why we have practitioners to do that. If we were supposed to do it by ourselves, then we wouldn't have each other, and I think there's 7.5 billion of us. So that's a lot. You know, let's take a break.
Hi, welcome back. This is John Waterhouse. And we've been, no, we're going to start this over again. I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to start it over again. Welcome back. This was a great class, and thank you for joining us for it. I'm sure that you leave with a lot of great ideas to bring into your life. So to end the class, we're going to do a spiritual mind treatment. So join me in knowing the truth, that there is a presence and a power. And in that power dwells everything. That this power is absolute in every way, and it dwells at the point of each of us. And I know that as we go through this and other classes of the science of mind, that we understand that more deeply, and we're able to bring it into practical application in our lives. And this night, this class was no exception to that. I know that every one of us is blessed by this experience, and that as we go off to do whatever is next, that all is in perfect order, and that we bring that new sense of understanding with us everywhere we go and in everything we do. And certain that that is so, we simply let this be the truth, as together we say, and so it is. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us for class. We'll see you again very soon.